Is equality truly best for humanity? Equality sounds ideal, but is it realistic or even right? As diversity grows, can sameness be satisfied? Join us as we interrogate equality from all sides, exploring if differences sometimes deserve defense over absolute equity alone. Equality is deeply tied to our ideas of justice, fairness, and human rights. On the surface, the notion that all people should have equal access to opportunities and be treated the same regardless of attributes like gender, race, religion, or sexual orientation seems perfect. However, upon deeper examination, some argue that pursuing absolute equality may lead to a different outcome and that encouraging diversity is equally, if not more, important. Let's start by laying out some of the key reasons people provide for why equality is important. Fundamentally, the argument for equality is based on the belief that all humans are inherently of equal worth and that no one should face discrimination or disadvantages due to attributes they cannot control. Discrimination and unequal treatment deny people basic dignity and rights to pursue happiness and opportunity freely. Advocates argue that equality is necessary to correct historical injustices and ongoing inequalities in the workplace, politics, and society. For example, though many laws now prohibit discrimination on attributes like gender, racial minorities, and women still face biases and systemic barriers that hold them back. Through policies aimed at diversity, inclusion, and representation, pursuing equality can level the playing field and give disadvantaged groups fair chances to succeed. Related to this is the argument that equality leads to greater human potential and talent utilization. When groups face discrimination and lack of opportunity, it wastes valuable human capital. For example, if half the population, women, face gender biases that hold them back from leadership roles, it deprives society of skills and perspectives. Equality ensures abilities and performance become the primary basis for determining who gets what jobs or roles, unleashing repressed potential. Proponents also argue that pursuing equality creates fairer, more cohesive, and just societies in the long run. When people feel they have equal chances to succeed regardless of identity attributes, it increases social solidarity, trust in institutions, and overall well-being. Overcoming discrimination and its impacts has knock-on effects like lowering poverty rates and improving health outcomes in marginalized groups. Promoting inclusion makes populations feel their voices and ways of life will be respected, strengthening the social fabric. In summary, the ideals of equal dignity, correcting injustice, maximizing talents, fairness, and social cohesion drive the pursuit of equality from this perspective. Now, let's explore some counterarguments against the notion that equality should always be the primary goal. One critique is that the concept of equality itself is complicated, with different types of equality that can conflict. For example, efforts for equality of outcome through policies like quotas may undermine equality of opportunity if fewer qualified candidates are selected over others. There is also a difference between legal/political equality, which provides equal rights and protections, versus social or economic equality, which involves complex societal and cultural factors beyond policy control. Determining what constitutes equal treatment or results is difficult and sometimes arbitrary. For instance, should two candidates with similar qualifications but different gender/racial attributes be considered equally deserving of a job, even if unintended biases edge one candidate slightly above the other? Reasonable people can disagree on where to draw lines. This leads to another argument. While non-discrimination is important, absolute equality of every outcome is unrealistic and discourages merit-based considerations. Not all differences in outcomes between groups are necessarily due to unjust biases needing correction. There can be complex interactions of choices, interests, and aptitudes too. For example, on average, fewer women pursue certain STEM careers. Is this always due to societal barriers, or might biological/psychological differences in interests play some role too? Pursuing perfect statistical parity in all domains risks ignoring individual merits and preferences in the name of group-level representation. While expanding opportunities is good, compelling equal ratios can compromise quality if less qualified candidates are prioritized over more qualified ones due to attributes rather than merit. It also discourages specialization in fields that attract uneven gender/racial ratios. Another perspective is that perfect equality is against basic human nature. People naturally vary in their talents, preferences, and life circumstances in ways that inevitably lead to unequal outcomes, no matter what social policies are implemented. While reducing discrimination and widening access to chances is reasonable, eliminating variation seems utopian. Acknowledging natural differences and pursuing overall well-being may be a more balanced approach than rigidly fighting all inequalities. A related point is that inequality is not always unfair and may even drive progress in some contexts. For instance, economic inequality arising from differences in skills or risk-taking can motivate innovation if everybody has basic opportunity and security. In competitive domains like sports or business, allowing top talents to rise above average can push boundaries and create gains for wider society through their achievements. Some degree of inequality may be an inevitable price for maximizing potential in certain fields. On a societal level, countries with moderate inequalities in some respects, like income, have been found to be among the most well-functioning, harmonious, and innovative. Total equality deprives populations of role models to aspire towards and removes incentives for excellence if all paths lead to statistically similar outcomes regardless of effort or talent. Very egalitarian societies tend to be more conformist and less tolerant of unorthodoxy. Overall, while some advocates posit equality as a neutral or default position, in reality, it represents a particular political ideology that is not universally agreed upon. Other moral viewpoints emphasize individual responsibility, merit-based deserts, or diversity of outcomes depending on circumstances. Different cultures and historical periods have balanced these considerations in varying ways and have yet to reach a complete consensus on any singular approach. So, in summary, while reducing unfair biases and discrimination is reasonable, the counterarguments question if mechanically imposed equality of all outcomes should always be the overarching goal in complex, diverse human societies. Alternatives proposed include focusing more on equal legal treatment and opportunities, allowing for natural differences, acknowledging trade-offs, emphasizing well-being, and balancing values like diversity, excellence, and fairness. Now that we have examined some perspectives on both sides, let us share a more nuanced viewpoint. Non-discrimination and policies temporarily aimed at representation to correct severe imbalances are fair to level basic playing fields. Beyond that, recognizing natural differences and diversity of pathways aligned with varying talents or preferences seems a more pragmatic approach. Regardless of group membership, the key is that all individuals are given reasonably comparable opportunities to pursue happiness, fulfillment, and success through education and open competition. But statistical parity need not be an end in itself if overall well-being, societal advancement, and respect for individuality are also valued. Discrimination, not natural variations in outcomes, should be addressed, and progress should be measured primarily by expanding access and removing barriers rather than rigid adherence to enforced statistical quotas. A more optimal approach is a balanced process of soft affirmative action combined with meritocracy, fairness, and emphasis on maximizing overall capacities. It allows scope for both representation and excellence to flourish in inappropriate measures. Diversity of experiences and outcomes within a framework of equal respect and chance may better reflect the complexity of human societies and possibilities. Ultimately, what matters most from a moral perspective is sincerely equal dignity and unraveling deliberate injustice. Beyond that, flexibility and balance are called for. Thanks for watching. Now mash that like button harder than an SJW on Twitter. And don't forget to subscribe to join more debates on equality. Now go spread the word, unless you want a strongly worded protest outside your house.